Hey guys, Jinx here, and today I want to say thank you for 5,000 subscribers. This is a huge milestone that I never expected to hit, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of your support. For the 5,000 milestone, I thought it'd be fun to get to know you guys a little bit better, have you guys get to know me a little bit better, and show off who I really am. So, here I am. I thought it'd be fun to go through a Q&A or an AMA where you guys can ask me a bunch of questions and get to know me a little bit more face to face. So we'll start off with some questions that I was asked multiple times or that I get asked all the time just across YouTube comments or Discord or wherever. The first one is, how long have I played this game for? I started playing September 25th, 2023, about a year and a half ago, so I haven't really played this game for that long compared to some people. I was late to the show, but I love this game. I'm so glad I finally found out about it in 2023, and I'm definitely here to stay for the long haul, that's for sure. Another question that I get a lot is, how long do I play per day? I usually play about an hour, maybe two per day. Usually not much more than that, other than just being online AFK hatching eggs, usually on my phone. A big thing I find in this game is being consistent. So rather than playing for like 8 hours a day for a couple weeks and then burning yourself out and then taking a month or two off, I find it's usually better to just pace yourself, play for a shorter period of time every single day, and in my experience, that's added up to being much more successful. Another question I get often, which is a little bit more personal, is what do I do outside of the game? Well, I am a high school teacher. So I teach high school science, and I have a wife and a kid who's 1.5 years old. Keeps me pretty busy, which again is why I don't play the game a ton. So now with those more general questions out of the way, let's take a look at some specific questions that some people asked in my community. So first off, thank you to Hybrid for asking these questions. First off, he asked, how old are you? I am 31 years old. A bit of a boomer, I know, but I love this game because I grew up with Pokemon Blue, and this reminds me of those old days on the schoolyard, finding somebody with a link cable and hooking up and playing online together. It's so cool having those childhood dreams of being able to play with everybody online together come true in this game, which is kind of why I'm so hooked on it. Next question Hybrid asked was, how long do you see yourself playing PokeMMO? I don't see an endpoint in sight, to be honest with you. I love this game and it fits perfectly into my lifestyle, being able to drop the game at any minute, whether you've popped a shiny charm and all of a sudden have to go attend to my kid, or just don't have much time. I only have 20 or 30 minutes at night sometimes to play, so I can start a gym rerun and then leave partway through and pick up the charm later on. This game works really well for that. Having the lifestyle I do, if I play an online game like, I don't know, Valorant or Rainbow Six Siege like I used to, it doesn't work too well because basically halfway through the game, usually I get called off and I have to quit out of the game, and usually I end up getting banned for leaving the game. So PokeMMO is great because it does allow me to live my lifestyle and also engage in the game fully. The mobile client is also amazing since I don't really have much time to sit down at my computer and play outside of when I'm recording or streaming or something like that. The next and final question Hybrid asks is, how much money have you spent on shiny Absol? I don't know if I want to know the answer to this question, but let's figure it out pretty quick. So we got the calculator here. I am currently at 22,020 eggs. Half of those are dittos, which means I've gone through 11,010 dittos for this hunt. Each ditto costs about 5,000, so just the dittos have cost me 55,050,000. Oof, that hurts to see. The other 11,100 are field breeders, which usually cost about 1,500 each. So that's 16,500,000. So that plus the 55 mil, if I round it off, puts us at 71,515,000. Other than that, it's pretty much just shiny charms, so we might be able to add that in. I guess it would be that, plus I've done about 40 to 45 batches, which are all on a shiny charm. So let's say on the low end, it would be 40, and each shiny charm costs about 220k, which is another almost 9 million, which puts us at currently about 80 million. Add that to the PC expansion slots, and that's a bit of money. Also, just recently I started alpha hunting, so I've done currently 430 alpha eggs, and each one of those costs 40,000 give or take for a breeder, plus 5,000 for the gender cost, for a total of 45,000, 19 million just in those 430 encounters. Yikes. So I've spent almost 100 mil on the Absol. Haven't got it yet, but hopefully we get it soon. So next question is from Marvin, so thank you Marvin for this one. He says, Jinx Boone is a long name, so can we call you Jinxed or Boone or real life name? You are totally welcome to call me Jinxed. I like to call you guys my booners. You're all my booners. Whether you're a massive booner or a little booner, I love you all. But you guys can call me Jinxed. My real life name, if you'd like to know, is Andrew, but you guys can call me Jinxed. He also asked, do you wish to escape Petrowski's curse and play the demo of PokeForce again in April? I'm really looking forward to PokeForce, and I'm really hoping that I have time to play it when the demo comes out, so I'm going to give this one a solid, hopefully. I very likely am, and I'd love to do an update video on my thoughts on the update since the previous demo that they released. It's been a long time, almost a year since their last demo, so I'm really hoping that we see some improvements. The PokeForce team has been amazing. I'm really looking forward to that game, even though they're going to have to do a lot to convince us PokeMMO players to move out of PokeMMO after dumping, for me, like 3,000 hours. I can't imagine how many other players have spent 10 or 20,000 more hours than me convincing us to move over to PokeForce. It's going to be be a really good game. So I'm curious to try it out, and I really hope that it's successful. Our next question comes from Oink, and he said, was there a time that you thought you should quit PokeMMO, and what was the reason? There's probably been 2 times that I've thought about quitting PokeMMO, and that was at the end of the Lunar New Year event this year. I honestly was very burned out after doing the Lunar New Year raid guides every day. It was just a lot having Halloween event and then the Christmas event and then the Lunar New Year event, and even though I didn't make a lot of videos for the Halloween or Lunar New Year event, even the ones that I did made kind of burned me out. And then for Lunar New Year, I made it a goal of mine. I wanted to make sure that I had a guide for every raid that came out. Honestly, that just killed me. I was only sleeping like 3 hours a night probably throughout that event because I'd try to get that video done. I still have my job. I still have my kid. I ended up just burning myself out. I don't think I'm going to be doing that in the future. I'll leave that to Cav. He's great at it, and I just don't have the time, unfortunately, to do that. So that was pretty much the only reason. I actually took a few days off, maybe a week off, and that was pretty much that. After that, I came right back and was really excited to keep playing. There was actually a second time, and I don't want to get too far into it, but basically there was a falling out on our team, and our team ended up disbanding, and a lot of the friends that I played with ended up quitting the game, and it didn't really feel right after that. Luckily, most of them have come back, and we've regrouped, so it's been great since then. However, in that moment, it was really tough to be motivated when the people you play with every day no longer are playing and you're not really in connection with them anymore. So a huge part of the motivation in PokeMMO is the teams and the friends that you have and working together or showing off your cool new shinies. So luckily now I'm back with those people and have a lot of new awesome friends, which definitely keeps me motivated. The next question is from Brawling King, and he says, what's the most amount of Pokeyen that you've earned in a single day and how? Honestly, the most I've earned in a day probably isn't much more than a couple million, other than selling off investments. When I was making my Red Reaper hood, I had a few days where I was making, like pulling 30 mil off the GTL because I was selling off a ton of my investments because I really wanted that vanity. The amount of liquid Pokeyen that I've made in a day, though, is probably pretty tough to say, but there was one day that I remember specifically. This was back before strings were nerfed, so it was pretty easy to hit all the Elite Four in one go. So there was one day where I hit the Elite Four, and in the middle of the run, I went off and did red, and I still got all Elite Four done, in addition to red, all on one 100% Riches charm with a Battle Points charm. It worked out to well over $1 million for a 1 hour rerun, and then that day I still did my gym rerun, and I think I even did a trainer rerun. That was way back when I used to do those as well. So it was probably well over 2 million of liquid capital just in those 3 hours of gym rerunning. Other than that, it's hard to gauge it because most of my money I probably make through breeding outside of just my daily gym rerun. It's mostly just staying consistent with those gym reruns to make the money. And breeds are hard to gauge because they often take a long time to sell, so you don't really see the profits for a while. I made a couple big shiny flips, picking up 700 or 800,000 off of one flip, but again, that's hard to say in a single day because you buy it and then you sell it about a month later. Sat Professional asks, which event do you like best from PokeMMO? Definitely Halloween. Halloween has been my favorite event so far because I think it was a good balance. I find the Christmas and Lunar New Year event I just had too many raids, and I love the raids, but the time crunch on them was just too intense. Having 12 raids plus the boss, plus the hard mode boss in the Christmas event, plus Suicune in the Christmas event, or Heatran, like, it's just too much, I think, in the period given. Again, I'm pretty limited on time, so maybe those with more time like that more, but personally, I think there were 7 raids from Halloween, and I think those 7 was a great way to space it out. You had 7 plus the 2 final bosses, Darkrai and then hard mode Darkrai, and I thought that that was a really reasonable amount. Also, for those people who are grinding harder, or if I had any extra free time, you always have access to the Pumpkin, which is a really fun fight because it's not just a set win condition like follow step A, B, C, and then win. It does have a lot of adapting to the strategy and changing your strats as you go. I do really like that. I think it made a really interesting fight rather than our just regular like do A, then B, then C, and you win. The Pumpkin is one of my favorite fights that I've had in this game so far. It also does have that really fun, consistent way to go get candy, so you always have something to do, whether you're a new player going and collecting candy from the kids, or an experienced player doing the raids, or a very end game player who's doing the hard mode Pumpkin fight. There's something for everybody in that event. Also, we got Alpha Absol, and that's been terrible for my Pokémon. However, I do really hope to get that Alpha Absol one day. Promare asked, what do you think are major flaws that can be easily implemented in the game, but devs still haven't done it? There's a few that I can think of. The main ones are that we need more access to consistent raids. I think that the major flaw is that they just jam-pack all the raids into an event, and it makes for kind of a really rough time. It's not as enjoyable, because by day 3 or 4, you're already playing catch up, and it doesn't really feel like you're going through and enjoying the process. It's kind of like you're just grinding it out as fast as you can. I think a much better way to implement these would be maybe like 1 raid every week. Maybe even set it to 1 day. So on Saturday, there's a raid that comes out. Or have a rotating day, so kind of like alphas, where 1 day a raid will pop up, and you have 24 hours to beat it. I think that would make for a fun time because you'd still be on a time crunch, so you'd be expected to have some things built up, but you're not getting overloaded with stuff all the time. Every day you have to get online and play daily for 12 days straight, trying to figure out these boss battles, that kind of thing. I think having more space would be a better way and make for a much more enjoyable raid experience. Another pretty big flaw, I think, is the roaming legendary system. I know they've already talked about addressing this, and they're working towards a solution on swapping the roaming legendaries to raid legendaries, and I'm sure we'll see a fix to that soon. But one thing that I'd really like to see, and I don't think this would be easy to implement, but it'd be really fun to see kind of arenas in which you could battle them and maybe even need like surf or waterfall on your team to get through to the next area where you have to like fight the legendary. There's a lot of cool things they could do with raids, and I think a major flaw is just underutilizing that mechanic. I know it's very new, but it is about 1.5 years old now, so I think that they could start implementing these more regularly. Beyond that, I honestly think that this game is really, really well done. I know that the devs catch a lot of flack for a whole bunch of reasons, but personally, I think they do an amazing job. There's a couple little annoying things like small bugs, like the lure bug where your lure wears off, but honestly, I don't think that there's any real major flaws in this game. I think they nailed the breeding, I think they've nailed the economy, the GTL works amazingly. I don't really see any major issues with the game other than maybe underutilizing mechanics that they have access to. I'd love to see more weekly content too. Again, this is asking for not really flaws, but more what I think that they could do to improve the game. I love the Ho-Oh battle. I'm really enjoying the Heatran battle. I love the red fight. I'd love to see something like a Giratina fight or something along those lines where we have a weekly single person battle. Heatran's really fun as a raid, and I do think we need more raids, but even more just weeklies would be really fun. Oh, one more big flaw I think with the weekly raids that they should address. I don't think it should be on a 7-day timer. I think it should be on a 7-day minus maybe 30-minute timer, because what I've found is that we had a weekly group running for Heatran where each week we'd meet up on Monday night at 7 o'clock, and we beat it, and it took about 15-20 minutes to get together and do our thing. And then the next week though, we'd have to meet at 7:20 because our cooldown had been 7 days. That was fine, no big issues there. However, then the next week, because we took about 15 minutes to beat it, it was now 7:35 that our cooldown went off. And this happened a couple weeks in a row until all of a sudden we were pushed up over an hour, and now somebody had to go to bed and we couldn't get together on time. This ended up making us not be able to run it weekly anymore, so I'd really like to see maybe a 30-minute grace period on that, where it's 7 days minus 30 minutes, so that you have that 30-minute block to meet up with your group and do the raid each week. I think this is going to be really important for weekly raids. Alternatively, they could just have it so that on Sunday night at midnight Universal Time, all raids reset. So your red resets, your Ho-Oh resets, whether you've done it or not, it resets. That way, everybody has a chance to do it throughout the week, and then you can always do it at whatever consistent time works best for you and your group after that. Solidify asks, what's your favorite video or piece of content that you've made? There's a couple that stick out here as my favorite pieces. The most recent one that I really like is the April 1st, April Fool's Petrowski video that I made. It was pretty well received and I had a blast making it. I thought it was really fun and kind of funny to poke fun at him, even though I've never really talked to the guy before other than a little bit in like YouTube comments. I just think it was a really fun thing to make. Other than that, my favorite videos are probably, my first favorite video was my how to egg hunt. That was a video that took a lot of work because I was still pretty early in the game and I was actually just kind of learning egg hunting while I was doing it, but it was the first time I really started to integrate like memes and jokes into the video alongside the informative content. Before that, I was pretty rigid with it, and this was the first time I really got into like putting in jokes and cutting to memes and that kind of stuff. So I think that was a really good balance of teaching people how to do something while being encouraging and positive towards it, but also cutting in some comedy memes and having fun with the editing and the viewing process of that video. So that's probably one of my favorite videos as well. The last video is more just one that I'm really proud of, and that's the how to do the Elite Four using PokeKing. That video took me an absurd amount of hours just to figure out how to use PokeKing. I've spent well over 100 hours just Google translating and learning how the PokeKing website works, learning how the Elite Four runs, watching Billy videos, doing the research, trying to literally like screenshotting and pausing Billy videos so that I could Google translate them partway through. So that was a really enjoyable video, or maybe not so enjoyable, but something that I'm just really proud of making. I think I also did a pretty good job of cutting in, again, that humor and jokes and stuff like that throughout the video that made it, first off, more fun to edit, so I had more fun with it, but also a better viewing experience so that you get a combination of good information and also enjoyable viewing experience. So those would probably be three that I'm pretty proud of. There's a lot of videos that I'm pretty happy with and that I am proud that I made, but those were just some that stick out in my mind. And the final question comes from ZJ Mulan. He asks, what's your favorite underrated utility mon? My favorite utility mon, and the one that I get more use out of than any other, is Teddiursa. Teddiursa is a Pokemon who can learn Sweet Scent, it can learn Earthquake, it can learn Hyper Voice, so it has Sweet Scent access, so it can pull hordes, and it also has access to AoE moves, both a physical and a special move. This makes it exceptionally good at EV training, because you have your Teddiursa who can pull the horde, and you can do 5 Pokemon at a time in your EV training, because you don't have to have a Sweet Center. The reason I think Teddiursa is better than like Pikachu, who can do a similar thing, is because Teddiursa also has a pickup ability. So you're getting the pickup ability, so you're picking up random items as you're sweeping the hordes, and you're able to EV train 5 Pokemon at a time because you don't need that Sweet Center. So personally, that's been my most used utility mon. There's a lot out there, but that's probably the one that I use the most. Pikachu, again, is a great option. He actually suggested that in his post, that Pikachu is really good for Sweet Scent and horde killing, but I just think Teddiursa takes it a little bit beyond by having that pickup ability. So that's all the questions that you guys asked of me. If you have any more, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. You can also come and talk to me on stream. Usually I stream Friday nights at about 7 o'clock MST, so come by and hang out sometime, and feel free to shoot me your questions there. Other than that, you'll probably be seeing a lot more of my face in the videos coming up. I'm going to keep doing my editing thing like I usually do, but I'll be cutting in a little bit with my face in my videos coming up. And if you want to come hang out on stream, we'll be upgrading the stream to have the camera, so you guys can always come and hang out with that. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.